Greetings and welcome to another Sir Buckethead podcast. Yay, and there's much rejoicing. So, I'm back with my friend Hugo Strange to talk about the future of DC Comics.
DC Comics and the movies?
DC Comics and the movies, yes.
Yes. Alrighty, where do we want to begin this thing?
I think what we really need to talk about, I know we touched on this last time with Captain America, but we need to address the atrocity that was Green Lantern.
Okay, yeah. Who wants to go first on this one? Because I got a few things I want to say about it, but your show, you will decide.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that one of the things that pisses me off about movies is when I don't mind when movies do something that's been done already, but I do mind when they try to make it seem like it's the first time they've done it. And Green Lantern seemed to pride itself on the idea of a superhero who doesn't want to be a superhero. And that's not a new concept anymore.
You know, I never really thought about that, but go on.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, the whole thing with him not wanting to do this at first, and I think even in an interview, one of the actors said that, like, oh, this is a great movie because it's about a superhero who doesn't want to be a superhero. And I'm just like, every single superhero movie or superhero TV show of the past decade has done this. You're not doing anything new. So that's what I kind of liked about Captain America. As a matter of fact, I really like that part about Captain America is that there isn't any, like, well, should I be a superhero or not? It's, yeah, I'm Captain America now, bitch.
Yeah, and the ironic thing about Captain America is that it it kind of promotes the use of illegal drugs to achieve your goals. But that's a side note kind of irony type thing. But the American way, steroids, no. But yeah, I never thought about that in Green Lantern, but you're definitely right about that. But okay, here's my thing about the Green Lantern, and there's going to be some dissenters and whatnot, but I will say this, and then I will elaborate on what I mean. Green Lantern was not as bad as people say it was, but at the same time it was bad in a sense where it was not what it should have been. If that makes any sense at all. Like, as a movie, it worked. But as a Green Lantern movie, no. Not at all.
Mm-hmm. And you probably know more about the character than I do.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, even still, it just goes along with the same... Okay, yeah, because I do know the character of Hal Jordan, I am a little bit more, like, you know, clenched fists and shaking it, but at the same time, it's like, I can look at it as a movie. If you were going in not knowing anything about Green Lantern and not knowing anything about Hal Jordan, you would walk out and say, okay, well, that was decent. That was a pretty good movie. It had a beginning, middle, and end. The conflict got resolved, and, you know basically what you need to know about the Green Lantern Corps and all that other stuff. Now, me being a Green Lantern fan, a moderate Green Lantern fan, I was looking for a certain execution of things that just didn't pan out. Sinestro was great in the movie. He was like the only person in the movie that I thought was characterized perfectly, as far as what I would imagine Sinestro to be like. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan, however, was a big fat hell to the no. And I'm not saying that because Ryan Reynolds is a bad actor. He's a great actor. I like Ryan Reynolds a lot. And if they would have said Ryan Reynolds as Wally West, The Flash, I would have been down for that 125%. I would have been down. Like, Wally West, Ryan Reynolds, hell yeah, The Flash is going to be an awesome movie. Just because Ryan Reynolds could be The Flash. He has the look, the face, the attitude. All he has to do is just be Ryan Reynolds, and that's pretty much The Flash. Mm-hmm. Hal Jordan is not Ryan Reynolds. And I think in the Green Lantern movie, instead of Ryan Reynolds becoming Hal Jordan became Ryan Reynolds. And that, to me, was the major issue with the movie is just the casting, because it was just so outside of character as far as Hal Jordan is concerned.
Now, the Gossip Girl's character, was that from the comic books?
Carol Ferris is a character in the Green Lantern series, but Blake Lively should not have had that part, and that's the one thing about this movie that I wanted to hate, but I can't, because she wasn't bad in the movie, and that's what I'm so torn about that, because it's like I want to say why it's why is she there? Why her? There are like an entire slew of way more talented actresses who could execute that role perfectly. Why her? Why her? Why Ryan Reynolds? Why? That's my only problem. Why? Peter Sarsgaard was great. Mark Strong was great. Tim Robbins was great. But just the two central characters in the movie. Why? Why?
I don't think I've met a single person who's actually liked any member of the cast in that movie.
Really?
Particularly the villain. Most people, like, I haven't, except for, Sinestro, people liked, but I thought the villain was okay. I didn't think Ryan Reynolds was pretty bad, and yeah, I kind of get what you're saying about Blake Lively, whatever the hell her name is. Yeah, I don't understand the casting of that either, and I agree with you in that she wasn't really that bad, and I think, as I said to you before, I don't know if this made it into the last podcast, but the part that I actually gave credit to was when she was like, hey, wait a minute, I know who you are.
Yeah.
It's like, that mask doesn't hide you. I've known you my whole life. And so then you're like, oh, finally.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the part that everybody will agree is kind of the best part of the movie, is the fact that it's not the mask that just totally makes everyone stupid, not the Clark Kent glasses thing.
A mask just fails, though, and what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because, say, like, anytime, like, your identity is threatened, that mask will appear.
Yeah, but at the same time, his identity wasn't necessarily threatened, so that's why. Yeah. But,
even when his identity is threatened, that mask doesn't help much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And imagine Sir Buckethead walking around with that. Hey, guys, you don't know who I am.
Well, no one's seen your cheekbones yet, so.
Actually, I think they have. I don't know. But no, still people wouldn't recognize me. But if I wore a mask like the Green Lantern, there'd be no disguise whatsoever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the other thing is the inconsistency with that mask. They use it to, like, hide his identity, and they say it'll appear any time his identity is threatened, but there's plenty of times where his identity could be threatened, and the mask is not there, or, like, as soon as she finds out who he is, the mask doesn't disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, it's just one of those moments where it's like, okay. I don't think... Yeah. I can't defend this movie, and I won't, like, rant about it. I could, but I just... It did its job, basically, and it did it poorly, but it did its job as far as, like, making a Green Lantern, which I said years ago, doing a Green Lantern movie would be incredibly difficult. And lo and behold, I was right. Big surprise. But no, the movie was just... It wasn't that well paced. The main casting was poor, in my opinion. Not out of quality of acting, but just out of the choice of actors they got to execute it was very poor, in my opinion. And the idea of a second movie just kind of, like, concerns me, because Sinestro's great. Mark Strong is great as Sinestro, but still, Ryan Reynolds being a part of the project just doesn't get me too excited about it.
Why are they talking a sequel already?
Oh yes! Oh yes!
Oh boy!
You better believe they're talking
like a direct sequel or a reboot.
A direct sequel.
A direct sequel.
Yeah, and then probably the reboot in 2014.
2014.
Probably a reboot. I'm joking here, but I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe by then it might be a reboot, but How well is this movie done in the box office? I don't think it's done that well, has it?
I have not seen any of the box. I don't pay attention to any of that crap because it's like, because the box office is pretty much how much money the movie's making, and there have been some stinkers who made quite a bit of money, and it's like that money doesn't say anything. It's really the quality of the movie that really says it. Because a lot of people will go out and it's just like whenever you see the movie trailers and it says it's the #1 movie in the box office, and it's only because it's the #1 movie because it just came out at
Mm-hmm.
that point in time, and everyone's kind of seeing it. So like, yeah, it's #1, but for like 5 seconds, you know. So like, you can't really hold that title for very long in the box office. It's like, people will go see it, but it's like, what happens after they see it? Will they recommend other people to see it? And I don't think the answer is yes for Green Lantern. So
Green Lantern, no. I think everybody said do not see that movie afterwards.
yeah, and it was disappointing. And
Which
that's
is
the thing.
DC, which has left DC movies in kind of a bind here because I think a lot of people were hoping that this would break new grounds because it's the first DC superhero that's really been reintroduced in the movies. Batman and the Dark Knight and Superman, they've been around for some time, but Green Lantern
Yep.
broke new grounds the way a lot of these other Marvel movies like Iron Man. Because I think was there a Spider-Man movie before the Tobey Maguire ones? No, I don't think so. There was a TV series, but Marvel broke new ground with Iron Man and Captain America, and you might even say Thor.
Here's the thing with the Marvel movies, and it's a Jon Favreau quote, and I'm going to misquote him or get the words wrong. But the idea is when he said when going into Iron Man 2, is that they asked, why isn't the Mandarin going to be in the Iron Man 2? And he said you kind of have to start off simple. It's kind of like the Star Wars theory. You kind of have to start off simple before you get to the Emperor shooting the lightning bolts. And that's the problem that I think the DC movies has. Is they try to go from 0 to 60 without kind of building up to that story. Because if you look at the Marvel movies, they all kind of they're all in the same continuity. Iron Man, Thor, all these things exist in the same universe. But if you watch the first Iron Man movie, you wouldn't get that idea that anything supernatural would be occurring in a universe like that. In Iron Man 2, however, you do get that feeling, and it starts building more and more. And then we get to the Thor, and then we get to Captain America, where there's, a buttload of supernatural crap, but it's all slowly building to that. Green Lantern goes directly to the aliens, and there's no real build-up to that, and it just kind of falls flat on its face, because it's like you start off with this, and it's like, it's just so much potential they had, and that they just couldn't do it. Couldn't get it done.
They started with the aliens, didn't they? Like, isn't that where the movie began? You don't meet aliens until after a while, which to me is kind of a weird place to start the movie. I mean, okay, and Superman started with the aliens, but those aliens were pretty
humanoid looking, yes.
But with Green Lantern, starting with the aliens, just working, you're supposed to go from the familiar and work into the unfamiliar. But Green Lantern, it's like, okay, here it is.
Yes, and
the unfamiliar to the familiar.
They could have played it completely different, where they had Hal Jordan being this kind of fish out of water character who's being introduced to this world, and at the same time, we're learning about the Green Lantern Corps along with Hal Jordan. That was one of the things that worked for Star Wars, is that in the Star Wars series, we learn about the Force through Luke. Luke is asking questions and whatnot, getting taught by Yoda. The Green Lantern movie starts off with, Parallax attacking and all that, and that's great from a dramatic perspective. If this was a comic book, it'd be great from a dramatic perspective, but from a movie perspective, for people who don't know anything about the Green Lantern series, they're going to be like, okay, who in the hell is this? What in the hell is going on? Why are these
That's exactly what I was doing. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it's like
who's who? Who's the bad guy? Okay, we got this guy in the Green Lantern suit. Okay, yeah, I guess he's passing it on.
Yeah, you kind of have to build to that moment. And I understand That's why I said doing a Green Lantern movie would be incredibly difficult because there's so many story beats to the Green Lantern story that you kind of have to execute it right at the moment when it needs to be executed, otherwise it's going to fall flat. So it's like when he finally goes to Oa and he finally, gets his Green Lantern ring, there's a little bit of exposition about what the Green Lanterns are, this, that, and the other thing, but they give you plot convenience that, oh, the ring is giving you this knowledge now that you know about all these sectors and whatnot. And it's like, oh, you mother. That would have been a perfect opportunity for you to, let the audience in on what is going on with the Green Lanterns. It was great that they explained, the ring is a thought construct that's, based on willpower. You can make anything that you can, conceive in your mind as long as you have the willpower to, maintain it. That sort of thing. That was good, but it's like, give people more because they need to know about, these things. Like I'm pretty sure you don't even know that the Green Lantern spectrum is emotion based.
Hmm. It's emotion based, so it's oh yeah. Well, they mentioned something about like how fear played a role,
Yes,
but
yeah,
that whole fear thing didn't quite like I didn't get it because it's like he's afraid of admitting that he's afraid. And,
yeah. And like I said,
uh,
in the comic, like I'm a Green Lantern fan, so I know this stuff. So I was sitting there and like, okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. But from a movie perspective, if you don't give them enough to to get it, they're not going to get it, and they're kind of left going, I don't get it. Okay,
that's
what?
exactly what I was doing.
Yellow? What? Why? Huh?
Yeah, yeah, and the other thing that kind of pisses me off with Green Lantern, and this is a minor nitpick, but I kind of got at this with Captain America as well, is there was potential for something that was dropped. There was that scene, and you saw it in the trailer, where Ryan Reynolds is like, "Oh, check this thing out! Check out what I can do!" When he tries to activate the Green Lantern powers, and it doesn't work. It was kind of like that moment in the movie The Mask. Did you ever see Jim Carrey's The Mask?
Yes.
Where he goes, "Okay, I'm going to put the mask on now." It's not working. And the guy's looking at him like, "What?" It was kind of like that with Green Lantern, where it's like, okay, I don't see anything happening. But it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got to recharge, and then it works. And when I saw that, I thought that this was going to come back somewhere, where like Green Lantern was going to get attacked by someone and be like, "Ha ha! Oh shit, I forgot to charge it. Now I'm in serious trouble."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it never
And
happened. So
yeah.
basically, they just made that whole scene so that you could laugh at it, so that there could be some comedy. And
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. That movie was a disappointment. It wasn't bad. It was just a disappointment. Like with what they wanted to do and what they could have done so much better than that. But poor casting choice, poor writing, and just poor execution in general.
or execution, yeah, you can say that. I did not like Green Lantern. I will give it credit where credit is due. There, a few points. Like I said, the thing about the mask. I thought the villain wasn't too bad. I thought Sinestro was pretty good. Maybe they should have done a little bit more with Sinestro.
Sinestro was fantastic. He's like the only thing I will preach about in that movie. He was great. Could not have picked a better guy as Sinestro. Period.
Now, I understand that there's a lot of development that they hadn't used with the guy, because, like, doesn't he become a villain?
Yes, he does, and they kind of did that at the end of the movie. But it's like that's not how it happened. And I'm sitting there just kind of just like, no, that's not how it happened at all. But I mean, I from what I know, Sinestro kind of was like a dictator on his own planet when he was still a Green Lantern. Like he had policed it so much it became kind of a police state, a police planet, pretty much. And it got to the point where he was kind of oppressing them, and Hal Jordan was like, this is bad. Because really, Sinestro was Hal Jordan's like trainer as far as like getting him into the Green Lantern. Because before Hal Jordan was the greatest Green Lantern, it was Sinestro, and Sinestro was kind of schooling Hal Jordan along and all that. And then
A soul. How human.
yeah, And then Hal Jordan saw what Sinestro was doing, went to the Guardians, and Sinestro pretty much lost his reputation. And I mean, somebody in the comments, just please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the initial story of Sinestro. Maybe that's the old story of Sinestro. Maybe it's like been retooled after Crisis, but I mean, I don't know. But I think that's the original. That's the initial story of Sinestro.
Mm. Well, whatever it was, it seems that people have not been too thrilled with that, and I guess we can kind of consider, whether we like it or not, Green Lantern is not considered a success of DC Comics.
Nope.
Nor is the roller coaster, by the way.
They have a roller coaster?
Yeah, towards where I live, there's Six Flags Great Adventure, and they actually have, DC Comics plays a big role. They actually have Justice League characters there, and so they have, somebody laughing in the background?
Yeah.
They actually have, Superman and Batman, and they even try to ride, called Bizarro, and they did Green Lantern, the roller coaster, this year. They tried that one with the tagline being "Stand up to your fear" because of the stand-up roller coaster.
Oh, wow.
And they actually, before you launch, they actually have the whole thing, with in Blackest Day and Brightest, whatever the hell. I'm sorry, I'm screwing it up.
It's all gravy.
Yeah, they say that one, and okay, the ride was kind of. It was actually quite uncomfortable doing a stand-up roller coaster because my knee. It was killing my knees for a while being locked. At first, I thought it was going to be pretty cool. Then it was not, as opposed to Green Lantern, where I was like, "What the fuck?" from the beginning.
That is so sad when not even the roller coaster is good.
Well, there's been a
man.
lot of that where the movie was bad and the roller coaster was bad too, because Six Flags Great Adventure pretty much capitalizes on whatever DC movie is coming out, and some of them have been good, some not. Bizarro was kind of a fail because they did a Bizarro coaster, just rebuilding another one. And I'm trying to think, what else did they do that was? Well, actually, I don't know. They've had a few good ones here and there, but Batman and Robin. Ooh, a little preview of my Schumacher review. Yeah, if you go to the Cinemassacre Batman and Robin reviews, I'm getting really off topic here.
It's all good because that's kind of bringing us to our next topic. So go ahead.
Yeah. If you go to Cinemassacre's Batathon, he does touch on the Batman and Robin the Chiller ride, and that ride was actually pretty good. The problem, as compared to the movie, that was another story, but that ride was never working.
Oh, wow.
It was good, but it never worked.
Wow.
Go there and it would always be closed down.
Wow.
So, yeah, I guess that there's a metaphor for the movie there somewhere.
Yep, art imitates life, and life imitates art.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you brought up Batman, let's talk about The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, Dark Knight Rises. I've spoken a little bit about it in some of my Batman reviews, and what I've talked about the most is Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. And if you haven't seen, have you seen the
I've
new
seen
images?
just about everything that has been available. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's causing a lot of discussion because she certainly looks badass. If she's, it looks like she's stolen the Bat Pod.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
if that's true, then that's going to say something about her. Unless she just stole this thing from him at the point where he's broken his back, because it looks like that Batman in this movie is going to pretty much follow what happened in the comics, which is he's going to get his ass kicked big time by Bane and have to recover from it.
We'll see. Maybe. Here's my thing with the Dark Knight. Well, let me address the Catwoman thing. I have no problem with the costume, and I don't know why people are giving it so much heat, because it's just like, I think they're going to go the same route with it that they did in The Dark Knight, where they never actually called Harvey Dent Two-Face. It was just kind of a thing that he was. He was Two-Face, but no one ever said Two-Face. Same thing with Catwoman. I think they're just going to call her Catwoman because she's a cat burglar.
Hmm.
So I think it's just going to be that thing where one character is just going to mention offhandedly, and that's going to be the end of it. But she's going to be like Selena Kyle. But I mean, we all know she's going to be Catwoman. But someone's just going to say, "Oh yeah, it's a cat burglar who's a woman, a Catwoman," you know, like that. And
Well, I hope that one doesn't happen, like the like the Pac-Man movie.
there was a Pac-Man movie.
No, no, you got to check this out. There's a Pac-Man movie trailer. It's fake, but it's funny as hell.
Oh wait, no, I think I've seen it. Is that the one with the dude with the harness and whatnot? He has like this gun and he's chasing ghosts around.
Right, and the cop.
Yeah.
It's by a cop, and the cop goes, "Look like some kind of man, a Pac-Man."
Yeah.
Just, I'm laughing at that. Like, I don't know what would give anyone the idea that it's like a Pac-Man. And looking at Anne Hathaway, I actually think that they're going to kind of back things up to where she's never going to really be Catwoman, but she's going to be Selena Kyle in the middle of the transformation into Catwoman. I don't know if we'll actually ever see her as Catwoman in this, and you know what? If they don't do that, that's not a big deal, because one of my concerns for this movie is they may be packing way too much into this movie, because I know there's Bane in it, I know that there's Selena Kyle, sort of like Catwoman. I've also been hearing that Ra's al Ghul is coming back.
Yes, a young Ra's al Ghul. Now, here's what I think is going to happen.
The Batman animated series calls it Ra's al Ghul for some reason. I don't know what the real pronunciation is.
It's I think it's Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul. Either way you can pronounce it. Raz.
Mm-hmm. Somebody out there probably knows what it's supposed to be called.
Yeah.
Like, how do you pronounce Mr. Mixyspitalik from...
Mixyspitalik.
Well, according to the Bruce W. Timm animated series, it's Mixy Yiz Spit Lick, which apparently came into controversy with the people that were fans of the Super Friends, where it's pronounced something different. But anyway, getting off topic. But
way off topic.
Ra's al Ghul. Okay, so yeah, we got Ra's al Ghul in this thing. Talia al Ghul, which I've been waiting for Talia al Ghul for a long time.
Wait, she's in this?
So I hear that she's in this, but as far as I know, and like people in the comment section, please do not like put a barrage of spoilers, because I feel like I know too much about this movie as it is already. I'm sure that the people making the movie are probably trying to keep it all under wraps, like they did with The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. But I don't want to learn too much. But I do know that Talia al Ghul appears as a young kid. I think it's a flashback.
That's going into my idea of what the plot is going to be about. Like, the only way I see them fitting Ra's al Ghul in this is if we actually have a flashback of Bane training with him. You know? Like, Bane doing something with him. Or... Because that'd be the only way, because Bruce didn't meet Ra's al Ghul when he was younger, so that's the only way I think they could squeeze Ra's al Ghul in there, if Bane was actually training with him. Which will explain why Bane is able to handle the Batman later on in the movie.
Well, Bane's training is a very important part.
Exactly.
He's not a big, strong guy to start out with. The reason why the Venom makes him strong, I mean, the Venom should kill any normal person.
Yes.
The only reason why Bane can survive it is he's got this iron will that he's trained.
Yes.
I forget what his real name is.
It's never been said.
It has been. I think if I play Arkham Asylum again on Xbox, I think it does describe what his name is.
Really?
Yeah, because like the cool thing about Arkham Asylum is they give you all the character profiles. So for all the villains, like you'll find all the remains of villains, and it'll give you like a little background of them, including when they first appeared in the comic books, which is very interesting sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to Bane. Like, he's got to go through some kind of psychological training, so there could be that he's somehow linked with the League of Shadows.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he's going to train with... I think the beginning part of the movie is going to feature, Bane training with Ra's al Ghul, doing that sort of thing, which explains why he's able to handle the Batman easily later on in the movie. I've heard something about Bane freeing prisoners from Arkham. So I think that's going to play a role in the movie. Bane was actually raised in a prison. In the comic books, he was actually raised in a prison, so that'd be
Right.
something to that explain a reason why he would be involved with prisoners in the movies. That's pretty much what I got. I don't know how he's gonna appear on the scene or anything. I'm thinking that from the ending of the last movie, um, City Hall is probably going to put the squeeze on the police department to like get Batman, and Bane's going to come in as this big badass and say, "Oh yeah, I can catch the Batman for you," and bring him to justice. And Bane's going to kind of screw things up in the process. That would be my guess for it. I don't know.
Unless Bane is hired by the League of Shadows, which is what we're saying that
That's a possibility too.
Even though Ra's al Ghul is dead, the League of Shadows could still be running, which means that Talia al Ghul
Is running it.
might be around.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen her name in the credits as an adult. I've only seen young Talia al Ghul. However, here's where it might be an interesting twist, because the first Batman Begins had a really cool twist, which some people I know had some problems with, where you had two Batman characters that were combined into one, because there was Henri Ducard, who trained him, who turned out to be Ra's al Ghul.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if Selina Kyle is really a grown-up Talia al Ghul?
I think that would be a line that I don't think they would cross. Like with some characters like Ducard, where you could do that, because he's obscure enough that people don't really care about him. But with Selina Kyle and Talia al Ghul, they're two very separate characters. So combining them, I don't know. I don't see Christopher Nolan being that underhanded, if I can use that word, underhanded.
Well, yeah, he's not known for radically departing from the comics. Although, I mean, with Ra's al Ghul, he definitely has departed from the comics quite a lot, because Ra's al Ghul from the comics had that whole Lazarus thing.
He was immortal, all this other crap. But I mean, I
Yeah.
like their take on it, though.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
But I'd almost want to say that I'd like to see Talia al Ghul in this, but since there's already a lot being thrown into this movie, and I'm worried about it falling into that trap of a lot of superhero movies who by movie 3 have just thrown way too much in there. I'm thinking X3, I'm thinking Spider-Man 3, just like so much thrown in, and they just can't organize it, which with the Dark Knight Rises, which is going to be the last Batman movie that I think Christopher Nolan will do.
And let's just hope the last Batman movie, period.
Well, it's going to be his last, will this be the last Batman movie, period? I doubt it.
I hope so. I really do.
Well, you're talking like how long,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. Wishful thinking, but
yeah,
a man's got to have his dreams.
Perhaps. I don't know. We'll see what happens with we'll see what happens with the world, but as long as the world's around, this character could be brought back. I'm not saying anytime soon, but if 2030 rolls by, somebody might find some potential with that character.
Yeah.
And everybody has said that about Superman, which could segue us into Superman. Superman has been around the longest, and to say that there will never be another Superman movie,
yeah, that's
I don't know about that. But here comes another Superman movie, Man of Steel.
Now, this is kind of a mixed bag for me. With the Superman movies, and you've reviewed the Superman movies, so you know what the deal is with those, is that the first Superman movie was good because it was a Superman movie. The second Superman movie was good as well because it was a Superman movie and it followed the same ideas of the first movie. Kind of raising the stakes with General Zod and whatnot. That was great.
Beautiful Zod!
Terrence Stamp.
Well, you can't beat him. Zod.
The third movie.
Should I talk about that?
No, 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 no,
So,
no.
invoke the wrath of more YouTubers who are like putting me on the death list for my review of Superman 3.
And then there was the fourth movie, and
Yeah.
yep. And I don't know, was there a five, or did it just go straight to Superman Returns?
It went straight to Superman
Okay,
Returns, which
yeah. Now,
some people hate that one more than they hated 3 and 4.
okay, now Superman Returns. The problem with Superman Returns, for starters, was the fact that there was already a Superman incarnation, a live action Superman incarnation going on. So it's like you had the Superman movie, and then you have Tom Welling on TV, and it's like, what? You know, you at least wait until Smallville is over before you go shoving Superman at us, because we're getting our Superman quota filled with Tom Welling. He,
Well, yeah, at that time it was still just Clark
yeah,
Kent.
he may not have the suit and all that, but it's Superman. Okay, we're not BSing here. It's Superman. We all know it. He doesn't have the suit, but it's still Superman. So Superman Returns was ill-advised, with Smallville still being on air at the time.
Well, and a lot of that, like they were kind of torn between. They were kind of torn between staying with the old Superman and like going with Smallville, because a lot of this thing, it's a lot of Superman Returns seems to be kindred to the fans of Smallville. My biggest problem with Superman Returns, and I actually don't hate that one. I don't hate that one as much as most people. I actually kind of like it to an extent, but I have to be in the right mood because there are some things that really tick me off about it. And the major one is that movie can't really decide whether it wants to be a remake of the old Superman movies or a new one. Because
yeah.
constantly, like every 2 seconds in Superman Returns, there's a reference to something that was said in Superman 1.
Yeah. My problem with Superman Returns is that it just wasn't. It's like we've. I felt like I've seen it before, and I really don't want that walking into a Superman movie. I go into a Superman movie and I'm expecting something more so than Lex Luthor, more so than another evil plot. I want to actually see Superman be Superman, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, that's the problem with anybody that with fighting Lex Luthor, and I think the only reason why they chose Lex Luthor was because of Smallville, because that had really popularized Lex Luthor again.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. The reason why I think the movies go to Lex Luthor so many times is that everyone else outside of Superman continuity, people who don't read the comic books and all that, are totally unfamiliar with other Superman villains.
I guess so. Like that's the one that they kind of. I mean, Superman is not known for his great supervillains. Everybody knows that. Although there are some really good ones that haven't been brought out yet in the movies,
yeah.
Like say Brainiac,
yes,
Metallo,
yes.
Parasite, Mr. Okay, actually, you know what, Mr. Mixius Spitalik is probably one of the weird ones.
But he could
I've
make
only
a
seen
good
that
villain, though.
What's that?
He could make a good villain if you handle it just right. He could.
I think Smallville. I don't remember that episode, but Smallville did that in a.
That was not that great, but it was all right.
I don't remember that episode. I don't even know if I saw that episode.
I dug it. I just liked that guy's accent for the most part. He was really. I liked it. I liked it. I mean, for a Smallville interpretation of him, I liked it.
Well, yeah, Smallville took a different take on a lot of those characters, but the only good modern, if I can even call it modern, take on that villain is again the Bruce W. Timm Superman series, which I actually don't even like that series all that much. I don't think they did Superman very well, but there are some things that they did do well, and one of them was the episode where they introduced that character voiced by Gilbert Godfrey.
I'm trying to remember if I've seen that episode. It's been a long time because I haven't had cable, so I had to like watch these
Well, I
episodes
mean,
on the
just look
fly.
that episode up, and once you hear Gilbert Godfrey speak, it's like, oh yeah, you completely understand why this guy is so friggin' annoying because it's Gilbert Godfrey's voice is just tormenting
I
Superman.
happen to like Gilbert Godfrey.
No, but I like Gilbert Godfrey too, but he totally has that voice that can really annoy the hell out of you, which they use in those things. Iago from Aladdin, they they really use that voice as something that just you can't ignore. With Mixius Spittle, like that's the thing is like Superman just can't get away from this guy. He keeps haunting him. Although Superman pulls a lot of fast ones on him too because he
Yeah,
keeps trying him again and again and again. It's actually pretty funny how they
yeah.
do it.
But here's the
But
go ahead.
yeah, but that's the only way that I've seen it done successfully. The movies can't really draw upon that guy, but there are a lot of other good villains that they could use, yet they use Lex Luthor, and Superman, as you said, can't really fight him.
Yeah. Now here's the
Because one of two things are going to happen. One, Superman, I've come to, oh, fuck, my face.
yeah.
Or it's going to be what you saw in Superman Returns is like, ha, kryptonite, ah!
Yeah. Now, the reason why I think Superman Returns failed so drastically is that, one, Superman couldn't be Superman. Two, we already had a Superman quota filled with Smallville. And three, it's been done. This has been done. This is not a new Superman story. And the whole subplot about Superman having a child, I'm sorry, too late. Too late to wrap that up in the movie. And this will kind of get me into the DC relaunch, but that was way too late in the movie to be anything worth discussing or worth mentioning. Because it wasn't like they set up a parallel between Superman's isolation and this child now stepping into the world. They didn't build that up throughout the entire movie, so I'm just like sitting there like, okay, why is this here? This is pointless. This is stupid. This has no purpose of being in the movie. I don't care for it in the slightest. It was just thrown in there as like, oh, now Superman has a kid. Haha, look at that.
Well, I mean, the only thing I can say about that is that it's pretty obvious well before that
of course.
this kid is his son.
Of course.
And it does make sense with the continuity of Superman 2 in a way.
I need to see Superman 2 again to
Superman 2. How could you not have seen Superman 2?
No, I need to see it again. I haven't seen it in a long time. I own it, I just haven't watched it. But yeah.
My favorite superhero movie of all time there. And I mean anybody who knows me knows that that's well established as my opinion.
Hey,
I've that again and again that Superman 2, I don't think there's ever been a better superhero movie. And I think that, I mean, people will debate with me, and I know I've probably made some blood enemies just mentioning that right now, but you gotta put some history in perspective here, in that nobody had really done a superhero movie that made you cry up to that point. And the ending of Superman 2 is really tragic.
I will have to see it. Don't spoil it for me, because I'll have to see it again, because I haven't seen it in a long time, so I need to go back and check that out. I'll probably do that.
I don't expect you to agree with me on that, because my opinion is pretty. My opinion on that is not universal at all.
I would tell you my favorite superhero movie if I didn't think that would garner laughs and disapproval and get my credit card taken away from me.
Oh, what is it? You gotta say it now.
Spider-Man. The first Spider-Man.
Spider-Man! Whoa, give me your credit card right now! The first Spider-Man you're talking about?
Yes, the first one.
That is a very good superhero movie. I will, I'm getting into that one soon, like Spider-Man, because once I get through, because I'm getting through the Schumacher Batman movies.
Oh, yeah.
But after that, I'll be getting into Blade and X-Men, and then finally into the Spider-Man movies. So I'm going to have a lot to say about those. And
oh, crap, we're getting off topic again.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
Superman, yeah. Man of Steel. Man of Steel. Okay.
Man of Steel. Okay, now it looks like with Man of Steel that it's going to be a straight-on remake, which I'm not happy about, but and maybe I'm not getting things right. Like, from what you know, is it a remake?
From what I know, it's gonna do the it's gonna do the origin story again. I know that. General Zod is in it. I haven't seen Lex Luthor on the cast list at all, so
No, there's just General Zod, and I mean, the cast so far as I know, I forget the guy who's playing Superman, but you've got
Henry Cavill.
What's it? Oh yeah, that's right. Um, Diane Lane as Martha Kent,
Hmm.
Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent,
Good stuff.
Russell Crowe as Jor-El, unless that was a joke.
No, that's Russell Crowe. Yes.
Um, so it looks like they are doing a full-on remake, which I'm kind of annoyed at because, like I said, when I saw the trailer for Spider-Man 3 in theaters, everybody yelled out, "No more origin stories!" And with Superman, I definitely kind of feel that. Like, they've done his origin story again.
Yeah.
And again and again. But I guess I can take comfort with this movie in that at least they have a firm decision on that. Because Superman Returns, as I said, they couldn't decide whether to make that a remake or an original movie.
Yeah.
If you're going to make a remake, okay, make a remake then.
Yeah.
At least this movie, I guess, is doing that. I really don't feel if they should do a remake, but they are.
Now, I have two concerns for Superman, Man of Steel, and for Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises, I'm not expecting that to be as good as The Dark Knight. I'm expecting that to be a good movie. However, I'm wondering if it's going to have the same social philosophical subtext as The Dark Knight did. I don't think they're going to be able to replicate that. I'm not expecting them to. I'm just wondering where this movie is going to go after having such a high standard with The Dark Knight. I believe that Christopher Nolan can meet that standard. I'm just guessing, but the reason why I'm not as excited as about the Man of Steel as I am for The Dark Knight Rises is because if you look at it on a scorecard basis, we've had two fantastic Batman movies. Two fantastic Batman movies. We're getting a third right now, and it's following in the succession of those two good movies. So the third one has more than a chance to be good. Now, this is the second time they tried to restart Superman. The second time. Not the first time. This is the second time they're trying to restart Superman. So this is already, kind of going into production with a strike against it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see the Man of Steel because it looks good, and I'm expecting to see a teaser trailer when The Dark Knight Rises come out. But with the Man of Steel, I can already tell you, reviewing that, I'm going to be a little bit more harder on that because it had such a massively failing past that it has so how can I put it? It has so much to make up for that I don't think you can do it in just this one movie.
It's like this movie is Barack Obama being put in office, essentially.
Yeah, if you want to use that analogy.
I guess we can use that analogy. And like, you got a hell of a job.
Exactly. You got a hell of a job.
Hell of a mess
Yeah,
here.
The Dark Knight Rises. All it has to do is just be good. That's it. That's all it has to do is be a good movie, and it's done. Man of Steel has to make up for Superman Returns, the other two Superman crap fests that we had. It has to fill in the gap from Smallville, because, say what you want about Smallville, it was still like the Superman of our generation. So it's like it has a hell of a job before it, and it's like I'm nervous as to if it's gonna be able to ring that bell. And I'm not saying Zack Snyder isn't incapable of doing that. I wouldn't say that. I'm not going to say, because the casting looks good. It looks damn good,
A lot of people are not happy with Kevin, because a lot of people hate Kevin Costner. They're not happy with him as Jonathan Kent. But I think that for a role like that, Kevin Costner, he wrote. it needs to be somebody who can be understated and can be very calm, which Kevin Costner is. So I
Yes.
think that's right for the movie. And I will agree with you that Superman, Man of Steel, has a really difficult task ahead of it, and like you said, it's got two strikes against it, if not more. Um, Dark Knight, I think I'm concerned about because, like a lot of movies, two really good ones going into it, and the third one, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
X-Men is really good. X2 is really good. X3 starts to. I didn't. X3 actually on the second viewing I liked a lot more than the first. So that really didn't hit the bomb until Wolverine, which I hated big
Are
time.
we still counting that as an actual movie?
You know what? We're not counting. We're going to pretend that one didn't exist.
Adamantium Bullet. How about that? Good for you,
Uh,
Wolverine.
yeah. Speaking of Superman, like Wolverine practically stepped onto the set of Man of Steel with the Kents.
Really?
But,
Oh yeah, with the jacket. The
uh,
jacket. Alrighty. Yeah.
so yeah, we were going into yeah. My concern for Dark Knight is that this one, because the expectations are built up for it so much because of the tremendous success of the Dark Knight. It's got a lot riding on it, and this could very easily be the one where everybody's like, you know what, that third one just sucked. They just missed it on the third one.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, Christopher Nolan will still have his certification there because he did give us The Dark Knight, which was great, and The Dark Knight Rises. All it has to do is just be a good movie. And with Christopher Nolan, that's not exactly a difficult thing to do. Inception was great. He had a couple of movies before that were good, but all The Dark Knight Rises has to do is just be good, make sense, and work. That's it.
That's
That
that's
is
all
it.
we're in for. Like, so many movies are just not doing that, but that's all we're asking
Yeah,
for.
but I mean, that's it. That's all it has
And
to
you don't
do.
have to make a whole lot of sense either. That's what I
Well,
just said. I just got done saying that about Apollo 18. You don't have to make a whole lot of sense, but you need to make some degree of sense.
The Dark Knight, like if you sit down and really think about the Dark Knight, it doesn't make sense. But I mean, as far as suspension of disbelief goes, I can give it some allowance with that. I can give allowance that the Joker has time to set up all this stuff and has numerous men, willing to do his bidding at the drop of a hat because say what you want about the Joker, he's the most organized mofo in that entire movie.
Yeah, even though he claims that he doesn't have a plan,
Well, yeah, he's the most
that's the thing.
organized person
The
in that
Joker
movie.
is a walking contradiction.
Well, that's what
You know,
makes it work.
that's the whole. That's the whole thing with his story that he has with the, about how he got those scars. It's a different one each time, and I think that even in one of the comics, I think it's the Killing Joke. He has a line where he says, "I always wanted my backstory to be multiple choice,"
Yeah,
where he does contradict himself constantly, and you really never know. The guy is just so damn unpredictable.
yeah. Have you seen FF's debris of the Dark Knight?
No.
It's really worth watching. I suggest you check that out to get like some real insight. I mean, there's nothing that hasn't been said about the Dark Knight before, but it's just he really does break it down as far as like what the Joker is in terms of the movie. And I'm wondering if, excuse me, I'm wondering if The Dark Knight Rises can meet that. Man of Steel, on the other hand, it's going to retell the origin story of Superman. That's already a strike against it because
Yeah,
no
because
one
like
likes
we
origin
see
stories.
already. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand why people want to do it because the origin of Superman story is a great story. It's got like such rich biblical parallels and historical parallels that it really is like an epic story. But it's been done,
Yes.
and it was done for every Superman story. They've done the origin story first.
Yeah.
Batman, it hasn't always been done like that. Any Batman TV show, I don't think the '60s series had the origin story. The Batman animated series gave you some flashbacks, but it didn't start that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the completely god awful Birds of Prey series was
Oh,
based later on. Sorry, that
flashback.
piece of shit, but
Flashback. Oh man.
that was awful.
I'm surprised
That was
I'm surprised you still remember that. Man, that
uh,
came and went
uh,
so fast.
I've tried to forget, but
Oh
that came
man.
out of the time of Smallville, so I was kind of trying to bank on Smallville's success,
Yeah, no.
but it didn't work.
No.
You know, Smallville. I have to give tremendous credit to Smallville, even though I said that the quality has dropped considerably over the years. It is what kept Superman alive for a lot of people, and the first two seasons were really what created Superman Returns, because it
Yeah.
was a tremendous success, and like you said, it is the Superman of this generation. I remember actually showing an episode of that during a film class I was teaching to a bunch of, I think, middle schoolers, and just as like a last day of class, like, okay, let's look at a TV series instead. And for a lot of people, they hadn't known Superman at all, and they were watching that, and they were all like starting to discuss, what they would do if they had Superman's powers. So it kind of did read. It kind of was a rediscovery of Superman for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think Smallville worked for that, and like you said, it did keep Superman alive. So Superman Returns was kind of like a superfluous thing that no one really wanted, no one really needed, and it just came at a really bad time.
Well, from a marketing standpoint, it came from a very good time, because now everybody was into Superman again.
Yeah, but
Because back when the guys made Smallville, Goff and Miller, like, everybody was saying to them, like, you want to do Superman? Why? Nobody cares about Superman anymore. This was before 9/11.
yeah,
9/11 kind of turned the tides in that direction. Spider-Man definitely. Well, actually, Spider-Man came after Smallville, because Smallville came out in 2001, I
really?
believe.
Huh. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
Yes.
9/11 is the thing that really boosted it.
Really, I didn't.
Oh, because like if you watch, if anybody's listening right now, like if you're a superhero fan, I know I've given you all a couple of lists of things you have to watch. Watch, look up in the sky, the amazing story of Superman. A lot of it is a commercial for like Superman DVDs and stuff, but it really gives you a great history of Superman. And they talk about Smallville and Goff and Miller. They say that before 9/11, everybody was like, oh, who gives a crap about Superman? And especially you're going to do Superman without a costume. And then after 9/11, everybody was like, we need a hero. We need Superman.
Mm.
So 2001, that was where it happened. And, I've spoken about Smallville a lot. And it's a show that, to me, really dropped in quality.
I can forgive it after a while. Like I gave it a pass because what Smallville did is it gave us a whole. Okay, here's something. Here's the reason why I think why all the movies went to Lex Luthor instead of any of the Superman villains is because in the movies you really have to build to that point, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the series I got in around season 5, I think. Season 5, is that when Brainiac... Yeah, Brainiac first appeared in season 5. Season
Mm-hmm.
5 gave Brainiac a long time to set up his character, his origins, how he came to be, what his main goal is, and, what he is, where he comes from, all that other stuff. In a movie, you really don't have that amount of time to do that unless you're going to give the villain his own origin story within the story. Excuse me. Some movies can get away with that. With Superman, as weird and as bizarre and as alien as his villains are, building to that would be incredibly difficult. So it's like instead of having to develop a villain over time throughout this entire movie to the final confrontation, they're just like, oh no, fuck it, we'll just go to Lex Luthor because he's there. He hates Superman. What do you need to know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so Smallville, I give it major credit for that, is that it did give us these villains, it did develop them, and seeing as how I'm a comic book fan, I understand the multiverse, so I can say Smallville is not going to go by the comic books because it's its own universe. There you go. So in this universe, this is Superman. Whatever, I'll accept it. Move on. You know.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. Yet at the same time, there were moments in Smallville. I've been watching it from the beginning where it can't quite decide how well it wants to follow the comic books and the pre-established Superman movies,
Yeah.
because in Superman in season 2, they introduced Jor-El as kind of like this really really dark character who wants Kal-El to take over the world. You know, it's like that's partially why I think they chose Terrence Stamp to voice Jor-El,
Hmm.
is because he voiced Zod, and they were going with the darker direction. Then they started to kind of move more towards the original Marlon Brando Jor-El. As a matter of fact, even if you remember season 5, the episode where Clark dies and he's visited by Jor-El in the personage of John Glover, who's playing
Yeah.
Lionel. Lionel Luthor is essentially like paying a homage to Marlon Brando with his very gestures. Like you'll see him, he, it's hard for me to describe
No,
without
I know
showing.
what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Like when he walks, like everything was like that, and now it's back to the kind Jor-El. So it seems like they really weren't sure where they were going to go with that. Also, because my biggest complaint about Smallville throughout, and I'm sorry to go into that, but it's the everlasting rant with Buckethead here. Lana Lang. Like, I would be okay if they, as much as I'm a Lois and Clark shipper, I would be fine if they wanted to say, screw what happens in the comic books. We're going to go with a Clark and Lana relationship, and that's going to be the one. And like, if they said, okay, we're going to kill off Lois Lane, so that's never going to happen. So it's going to be Clark and Lana. I would be okay with that. But the entire series is like they couldn't decide. It's like, okay, yeah, we got to get rid of Lana now. Oh, but we like Lana so much. They're so cute together. Let's keep them together. But we got to break them apart. Okay, let's break them apart. But let's break them back together. They got to get back together. And it was just repetitive as shit.
Yeah, I think that was mostly for the girls watching Smallville, because
Fangirls.
yeah, well, not fangirls, just the girls who looking for an excuse to watch Smallville, and that's such a sexist comment. I'm not a sexist.
No, I mean, no, there was a lot of girls that liked Lana and Clark together, and a lot of guys who liked Lana and Clark together. It's kind of like the big ship debate.
She was the eye candy for the guys, and the relationship portion of the show for the girls. But from my perspective, Chloe was all the eye candy I needed. Hot cha 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 cha.
A lot of people really like Chloe too. It's
Hot cha cha.
I never really found her. I found her kind of cute, but I didn't really. I never really lusted after Chloe. But that's a whole other debate. But now they're going with Amy Adams as Lois Lane in this one. What do you think about that?
I haven't seen Amy Adams in anything, and like I said, the casting looks good. She looks like a perfectly fine, better than Katie Holmes. Hell,
Was Katie Holmes up for this?
she was in Superman Returns.
No, Katie Holmes wasn't in Superman Returns. She was in Batman Begins.
Who was that in Superman Returns?
That was Kate Bosworth.
Well, yeah, whatever. Better than her. See, I can't even tell them apart. But yeah, better than her. Because her Lois was not Lois. Her Lois was... I don't know who that was, but that wasn't Lois. And, yeah, let's not talk about that, Superman Returns. The casting for this movie looks good. Michael Shannon is Zod. I haven't seen Michael Shannon in anything, but...
Well, nobody's going to top Terrence Stamp. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of annoyed that there isn't a little Zod, because, you cannot beat Terrence Stamp. He was perfect for the part, and I will always remember that performance because he nailed the character.
Well, here's the thing: you've seen the Smallville with Colin Blue as Zod, right?
Yeah, he's yeah, he was okay.
No, I liked it because it gave us a different Zod. Like the Zod in the second Superman movie came off as more of a very intelligent mastermind general.
Hmm.
Now, the Zod we got in Smallville came off as a very brute force general, kind of like this guy who was all about his people, really. Like, he started off trying to do the good thing, but then after a while it's like, well, they don't want me to do the good thing, I'm going to do this for my people, we're superior, blah blah blah. He came off as this really, brute force general kind of guy who, would put you in your place. My favorite part of his introduction as a character is when he was when all the Kryptonians put him on trial, and he like grabs the one dude by his throat and he's like, yeah, I went out in search of your family, this, that, and the other thing. You come here and you try to, take my army and all this. I'm doing this for you. And it's like, that's what I would consider Zod to be, is that kind of guy who would say, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't like, that's the one, like, I never try to compare people's performances if they're being a character that someone else already did. Like when people did it with the Jokers. And I think that's completely unfair, because Jack Nicholson's Joker was great for that time period. Heath Ledger's Joker,
What they were called to do.
yeah, was great for that time period. That Terrence Stamp's Zod was great for that movie. Colin Blue's Zod was great for Smallville, because that's what he needed to be, is that general in charge and whatnot. And there was the different circumstances in there. And I liked that Zod, and I liked the Terrence Stamp Zod. Michael Shannon Zod, I'm interested to see what they do with that. So I try not to do that when it comes to performances, even with the James Bonds. Although what the hell is his name? I can't even remember his name. The one James Bond that no one freaking likes.
Well, there's a few of them actually. I mean, but I think that Pierce Brosnan is getting a bad rap these days.
Yeah.
More people are crazy about Roger Moore's performance. It's basically like Connery or Craig at this point.
George Lazenby. That was the one. That's the one that no one likes, because no one remembers him. But yeah.
I guess that you can say anybody who's performed in a way that you can't remember has done the most. Has made the most fail, because as a matter of fact, you would say Superman Returns is the biggest fail in that, well, I have a hard time deciding. Like, some people can't even remember Superman 4, and some people find Superman Returns even more forgettable.
Superman Returns was majorly forgettable. For the cast they had, it was very subpar, because. And this is what I'm looking for, because Zack Snyder, is an action director, so I'm expecting there to be some Superman throwing some bows in this movie. Like,
there'll be a lot of slow-mo, I can guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah, well, of course, but the main problem with the Superman movie is we haven't seen him fuck shit up as Superman. Like, there's this great...
Oh, well, Superman 2, that's why Superman 2 is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what I like, when he fights someone who is superpowered.
Yes, and there's...
Then there's no reservation.
Yeah, there's...
Like, you can't have a physical fight with any human character in Superman, because if Superman hits this guy with a closed fist, they're gonna die.
Yeah. There's this great scene in Superman the Animated Series when Superman is fighting Darkseid, and he's like, I feel like I'm in a world made of paper. I have to hold back and everything. And he starts punching Darkseid, and he's like really like not holding back, and he's getting at Darkseid. I'm like, this is awesome, because this is what Superman needs to do: throw some bows. And it's like, with Zod being in this movie, I'm hoping we see Superman throw some bows and actually, get down and dirty and get messed up in the process. That's one of the things I liked about Smallville, is that we actually see Clark get in these physical confrontations, with meteor freaks, but at the same time, he's getting in these confrontations where he is pushing people and they're flying through the walls and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, Clark is legitimately getting his ass kicked, and he's legitimately kicking ass. It worked.
Yeah, I like the one in season 3. I don't know if you've seen back that far, because you mentioned
I've seen it. I've seen most of the episodes.
One where he fights the guy who thinks that he's the Native American guy who thinks that he's Numan.
Yeah.
In the Kawachi tribe.
Yeah.
He thinks that he is, and the two of them get in the fight, and I think like Clark does a headbutt and then rips a tree out from the ground and bam, smacks him with the tree. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I like Smallville. I give Smallville a lot of leeway, because it gave us a Superman that we weren't getting in the movies. And Superman Returns just did nothing but have Superman lift a giant island made of kryptonite. Yay! And there was much rejoicing. You know?
Well, I mean, I will get blood enemies for defending that sequence, but if you look at it, if you look back on it, nobody had really seen that level of superpower. So for me, that was kind of
No,
cool
it was
because
cool, but at the same time, it's like still it's Superman being heroic, but it's not Superman being Superman.
it's not Superman fighting. That is a
Yeah,
complaint I do
Superman
have about
fighting. Yeah,
Superman Returns is that like okay, it's Superman versus Lex Luthor, but they can't really fight.
yeah,
It's either Superman kicks the shit out of Lex Luthor, or Lex Luthor gets some kryptonite and kicks the shit out of him.
yeah,
Which I mean, one thing I did actually like about Superman Returns is that when he gets the kryptonite, he actually does try to fight back. Some people say that, oh, I hate that about it because he's not able to. But the problem I have with Smallville, and I've had it really ever since the beginning, even the seasons that I really loved, is that they kryptonite him to death, and every time you use kryptonite on him, it's always got to end the same way. He can't do anything. It's always somebody's got to come in. Clark, get the meteor rock off him, and then he's fine.
yeah,
It's always going to be the same way, which is why I like when it's not kryptonite, but it's superpowered villain versus superpowered Superman. Bam, smash, and Superman could get his ass handed to him.
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he's dishing it out as well as he
Yeah.
takes it. Yeah, that's the point of the whole. That's the point of the whole battle with Doomsday in the comic books. Is like Superman gets the shit kicked out of him, and so he has to like go full out,
Yeah.
like killing himself to take this thing down.
Yeah. And Doomsday was the only Superman villain that he absolutely had to, without a shadow of a doubt, kill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he even has that line in the comic book where he says, "In order to stop this guy, I have to be as ruthless and cunning as he is," and he's burning them with heat vision at that point.
Yeah. And it's rough, but I mean that's what we need to see. Anyway, we are like an hour and 10 minutes into this thing. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Okay, so Green Lantern is not making the future look bright for DC Comics, but I have high hopes for The Dark Knight Rises. Not as high for Man of Steel, I have to say. And then we've got Smallville, which, you know what, I guess I gotta buy the seasons on DVD when they come out,
I will
because they're
do the
supposed to
same.
come out the whole collection.
Yep. But I will agree. Green Lantern subpar. I have pretty high hopes for Dark Knight Rises. My hopes are moderate for Superman, Man of Steel, and as far as Smallville goes, I give it a pass. Oh yeah, we still haven't talked about the DC relaunch. I suppose we'll have to say that for the next installment.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about that either, because I'm not as familiar with it, but, you know, there's always next time.
Of course. You want to close this out?
I, Crusader, closeth thee out.
Fantastic. And we're done.